Hello everyone, welcome to the part 2 of Azure VM series, and in this we are going to see how to connect to our VM, deploy a web server on it. So let's get started. So we'll traverse to the resource section where you'll find all the details about our VM, and in this section we can see all the tabs which are the properties, monitoring, capabilities, recommendation and tutorials. So we'll come back to this in a minute. So first of all, let us go ahead and connect to the VM. So I'll be using the SSH secure shell to connect to the VM. I'm using the Linux OS. If you're using any other OS, based on that you can go ahead and connect to that using the RDP protocol if you're using Windows, and so on and so forth. So we already have the key downloaded that we did in the previous part of the Azure VM. So I'll just quickly traverse to the download section, and I'll provide the chmod 400 to the key, which is the read-only permission, and after that we would provide the allocated IP, which is the public IP of our VM, and we'll use that to connect to our VM. So after that we'll get a prompt for the host key handshake, and once that is confirmed we will get inside the VM. So now once we are inside the VM, I'll quickly switch to the root user, and now based on our requirements we are going to use this VM. So it is not Azure's lookout on how we are going to use this VM, it is completely dependent on us. Azure is only going to take care of the underlying hardware, which is the data center and the networking utilities. So this is known as infrastructure as a service, where Azure is taking care of the infrastructure and providing to us as a service, and we are using that service. But on top of that, the VM and the application that will be running on the VM is our lookout. So any kind of update, any kind of patching that will be done on the VM, we have to do that. We have to manage everything on top of the VM and our applications as well. So this is the meaning of IaaS. So based on our today's use case, we are going to deploy a web server. So first of all, I'm going to install the Apache 2 package to deploy the web server on the VM. So apt is the package manager for Ubuntu, and using that I'm installing the Apache 2 package. So once that is done, the process is going on. We will after it is done, we will provide the content for a web server. But meanwhile, let us go ahead and let us check out this section. So in this section we can see that all of the information about the VM is mentioned here, regarding the IP addresses, the size, the disk, and also the OS and the name and everything. Then we have a section of monitoring, where we can see the CPU utilization, the network utilization, the capacity and the bandwidth, and also we can see the the hard disk IO and throughput. So in this section we can take a look at the metrics, and based on that we can use that metrics to deploy further VMs if you require, or in that case we can use load balancers to automatically read these metrics and launch further VMs, or scale down if we don't require so many VMs. So we will look into the Azure load balancers in a further video. So we'll move forward to this section. There is another section called capability, where these are the features that the VM has, and we have availed some features, and there are some features we have not configured, such as backup and auto shutdown. So based on the use case you can go ahead and do that. There is also a section for disaster recovery. For example, if you have this VM launched on multiple regions, so in case of any disaster coming in, and for that a region goes down, your VM or your data would be safe and secure. Then we have a section for recommendation, where we are already following the Azure best practices. So if there is any recommendation from their side, they will provide here. Then there is a section for tutorials, where there is the official documentation for from Microsoft end, and if you need to go through this, please go through this, and these are amazing docs that will help you keep aligned with the best practices. So let's go and check. As of now I think the Apache 2 package is installed, so now we just need to go and provide the content. So we'll be using the typical hello world content, and we'll provide that to the document root, and inside that we'll create a file which is named as index.html. So once it is done, then we'll start the services with service Apache to start. And once that has started, let us now go and check with the public IP address allocated to the VM. So I'll use the HTTP protocol, as because we are using the port 80, that is why we use HTTP. If you have some certificates assigned to this web server, then we can go ahead and use 443, and in that case HTTPS. So the web server is successfully configured, so our today's use case is completed. So please feel free to go through this and play around with this. If you feel any kind of difficulty or have any queries, please reach out to me through the comments and deploy your use cases. So once we are done with the use case, the best practice would be to delete this entire infrastructure. So I would not recommend for you to go ahead and delete from here. That would just delete this VM, but there are additional resources that are launched. So the best practice would be to go directly to the resource group and delete this entire resource group, so that it in turns will delete all the further resources inside this. So as you can see on the notification, the delete operation will start, and after that all the resources within this resource group will be deleted. So this best practice is kept in the policies, or kept in your daily practice, just because to keep your practice cost efficient, and so that you don't incur further additional charges. So this is it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and please stay on this journey with me. We'll be covering the AZ-900 track,